Britt here. This is what avoidance is really stealing from you. It was 1:12 a.m. and I was reorganizing the spice rack. Not because it needed organizing and not because I care about paprika, but because I couldn't sleep. And deep down, I knew it wasn't really about the spices or organizing. It was about avoiding everything else that would come up if I stopped moving. Have you ever done that? Kept yourself so busy, so constantly in motion that you never had to feel the ache just beneath the surface? That happened to me for a long time. You fold laundry at midnight, you volunteer for that extra event, you scrub the baseboards no one ever sees, you schedule back-to-back to back-to-back tasks so tightly there's no white space left in your day, because white space is dangerous, and white space creates stillness. And stillness means the thoughts get loud. I want to ask you something, not with judgment, not to make you feel exposed, but because I've been there and I know how costly it can be. I mean, time is our most precious resource next to love, right? So what is all this busyness really costing you? I can tell you what it cost me. Not just time, not just energy, but your joy, your clarity, your connection with the people that you love, and even your relationship with God. You see, there's a truth that no one's telling you. Avoidance doesn't always look like numbing out with Netflix or disappearing for days. Sometimes it looks like doing everything just right. It looks like showing up at church with a smile, like leading the Bible study, like organizing the pantry or checking the to-do list or packing the perfect school lunch for the kids. While inside, you haven't let yourself breathe for months. And the scariest part, you're so good at it, no one even notices. Not even you sometimes. But your body notices, your heart notices, and the quiet ache you've been carrying, the one you pushed to the side because you don't have time to deal with that right now, hasn't gone anywhere. They're waiting for your attention. Those feelings are just waiting, waiting for space, waiting to be felt, waiting for you to stop, waiting to be acknowledged. You know, at that time in my life, I just called out to what I call the lifeline for Jesus. The lifeline for God. Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto the Lord and he will answer. You see, I had got myself so wound up, so busy, so doing everything perfect, just not to feel. But those feelings, they're just waiting there. They're waiting on a fence and they'll show up, and you don't want to unless you invite them in yourself. So today we're talking about this so you can pray about if you have feelings that need to be acknowledged. And if so, you might stop this video and ask God to show you what you need to see and what you need to feel, so it doesn't continue to run your life underground. The longer we keep avoiding, the more it steals from us. And that's why I made this video, because I know what it's like to be the strong one, the helper, the one who keeps it all together. But what happens when together becomes a prison? What happens when your coping mechanism becomes your cage? I know for me, there was a time that, oh my gosh, I just wanted someone else to keep it together for me, because I exhausted myself doing that for others. So if you've been living in motion, cleaning, planning, helping, doing, scheduling, but you haven't felt peace in a long time, if you're tired but you can't rest, if you're busy but you feel hollow, then this conversation's for you. And we're gonna look at what avoidance really is and what it's really costing you. Why do we do it? Well, how it shows up in everyday ways you might not even recognize, and most importantly, how to finally stop running without falling apart. Because peace isn't found in performance, it's found in presence. Are you ever around someone and there's something different about them and you just don't know what that is? You can't quite put your finger on it. If you're lucky, you get to be that person sometimes. I felt it on others and couldn't understand what it was for the longest time. The people that seem to have this aura about them that other people want to be around, a presence about them that people desire to soak in. You know what it is? Oftentimes, it's the presence, and the presence of Jesus. Because very rarely are people present in today's world. Just being present in the moment. What a concept, right? And there's something you can feel about somebody that embodies themselves so deeply and so well. There's a solidness to them. that feels safe, right? Well, you deserve to come home to yourself and have that kind of presence. For the longest time, I didn't know I was avoiding anything. I just thought I was on top of everything, right? I was the organized one, the productive one, the woman who got things done and made people feel seen and held everything together for others. You know, my calendar was packed, my house stayed clean, my inbox hit zero sometimes. And people would ask, how do you do it all? And I'd smile and say something humble, maybe even make a joke. But the truth, I was terrified of stopping. Because when I stopped, the silence got loud. And in that silence, all the things I didn't want to feel would start to rise. The shame, the grief, the ache I hadn't dealt with since the abortion I never really talked about. I told myself I was over it, that I'd made peace with it, and that God had forgiven me, and then that should be enough, right? But you know, there's a difference between forgiveness and healing. And I hadn't let myself heal with presence. There were more words I told myself. So instead, what did I do? I stayed busy. I said yes to everything. Church events, kids' activities, late night phone calls, volunteering to help friends move. I filled every second with a task, a conversation, or a list to check off. And I know I'm going on ad nauseum about this. And it's important because once you realize that that's what you're doing, you have the keys to the prison cell. You know, there's one night I'll never forget. And I just finished folding laundry, 11:45 p.m. The house was quiet, kids are asleep. I sat down for the first time all day. No noise, no tasks, no one to answer to, and I just froze. I didn't cry, I didn't pray, I didn't think. I just sat there staring at the floor, feeling like I might unravel if I moved. It was like everything I'd been holding back for years was pressing up against the surface, and I didn't know how to let it out without falling apart. So what I do in that moment, I realized I hadn't been living, I'd been managing pain, managing image, managing faith. I was avoiding my grief by drowning in service. I was avoiding shame by curating a life that looked good enough. I thought if I kept outrunning others, maybe I could outrun my own ache. But here's the thing. What we bury doesn't stay buried. It just leaks into our relationships, into our interactions, into our own reactions to others. I found myself snapping at the kids for minor things. I found myself withdrawing emotionally from my husband. I found myself feeling distant from God, even though I was doing all the right things. Avoidance doesn't make pain disappear. It just delays it. It's not going away until you feel it. And over time, the delay becomes dysfunction. So to add some science to this for you, a 12-year study from the University of Rochester found that individuals who suppress their emotions were 35% more likely to die from any cause. And to add to that, so the same study also showed that those who suppress their emotions had a 70% increased rate of cancer and a 47% increased rate of cardiovascular disease. That is significant. So thanks so much for joining me today. I'd love for you to join our community of awesome, amazing women and subscribe to my channel. And if you comment below, I'll do my very best to answer. And if no one told you today, remember, you are beloved.